All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. We're still talking about the impeachment of the now former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, because the Senate Speaker, Amason Kingi, has already gazetted that impeachment by the Senate yesterday. Out of 11 counts, 5 of them were upheld. We'll talk about those counts in just a bit, but my guest is still with me here in studio. Willis Otieno, lawyer and Deputy Party Leader for Safina, and Kathy Irungu, political commentator, is with us, and Joe Halende, advocate of the High Court. Willis, what options lie ahead now for the Deputy President, or the former Deputy President?
You know, as it is, his first recourse is to consider filing a challenge in court to challenge this impeachment and questioning if the legal process that was adopted by the Senate and the violation of his rights, which was so glaring from the beginning to the end. The way the Senate conducted this entire impeachment process, in my view, violated the right to a fair hearing and the right to fair administrative action, which are rights that were available to DP Gachagua throughout the entire process of his trial. But I want to say something.
Do you believe his rights were violated?
I mean, his rights were violated. That one, give it to him. Because to the extent that you even look at the grounds that were being presented and the evidence on those grounds, then the ultimate of it is you deny him an opportunity to be heard, contrary to the express provisions of the Constitution that requires him to appear and also to be heard. Those are violations of rights, and we do hope that the courts will look at themselves on that question. The only thing that I feel sorry for Gachagua for is that part of his public posturing and in his attempt to make William Ruto happy, he picked on the judiciary and at some point attacked the judiciary so viciously, including disparaging the image and the name of a sitting judge of the High Court of Kenya. Now he is reduced to going back to the same very courts.
Will that have a bearing on the outcome?
It will not. It will not. I do believe the courts will apply themselves to the facts and the law that are before them. It will not. But I'm just saying in terms of posturing, having conducted himself previously the way he has done, it sends a very bad, a weak signal. And those courts are human. Judges don't come from heaven and come here in the morning to hear a case and go back in the evening. No, they're also human and they're susceptible. But this is purely a political dispute. And there's what we call the doctrine of judicial restraint or avoidance, where the courts may say, this is largely a political dispute. We may not want to wade into it and to organize politicians. Well, now they're supposed to behave. And what I wanted to tell my brother Joe, you know, Joe is a politician and he belongs to a political party, UDA. Safina is a social consciousness. We are not a political party in the traditional sense of Joe and UDA. That is why UDA can find it so easy to play games, political games, and not care about the people's agenda, the best interest of the people. So that for me, if you ask me as a Safina member, the priority of Kenyans today is the high cost of living. There are over 5 million young people who don't have jobs and are qualified. We care about the healthcare system. Our people are dying in hospitals for lack of just a clear policy guideline on how to transit from NHIF to shift share. We care about our crown jewels. JKI is our crown jewel. Adani coming here to illegally acquire that crown jewel and turn us into slaves. Those are things we care about. So that if we were in a Safina administration, we will ask ourselves, will it be in the interest of the nation at this point in time to impeach a deputy when our people are sleeping hungry, our people are dying in hospitals? What do we give priority? We will have given priority to the issues that are of concern to the people. But politicians, the Joes, the UDAs, the ODMs, to them is an opportunity to cut someone. They'll be so happy to chop off anybody, because within that sector, you'll find already there are people lobbying to become deputy president as we speak. Some of them may be holding other positions. Yeah. Maybe if the CS goes to become deputy, that position becomes vacant. Maybe somebody who is a member of a parliamentary committee or a majority leader wants to go to become CS. And then below him, the person, somebody else is looking at, oh, the position of majority leader is going to become vacant, I want to become that. Yeah. So them, they're about organizing positions for themselves. Mm. So you throw to politicians an opportunity to advance individually. Yeah. They will grab it. But for social consciousness like us, Safina, we'll say it's not about who sits on the chair. It's about the ideology. What are we doing and how do we better the interest of our people? We always are guided by the best interest of the people at the time, before you make any policy decision.
Okay.
But for them, I want to sit for myself.
Okay, I'll give you Joe a chance to respond, but I'll come to you as well, Kathy, in just a bit. But joining us now is Paul Mugambi, Policy and Governance Analyst. Paul, thank you for making time. Right. Before you came in, we were wondering, were you surprised by the outcome from the Senate?
No, I was not surprised because right from the word go, this motion, when it was introduced in the National Assembly by the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, you could tell that there was overwhelming support from the National Assembly, and the matter being largely political, it was possible that both houses of Parliament could be mobilized by their principles. You know, in a country where politics is largely governed by political parties, it's easy to lobby, so to say, members of either political side to take a stand. And if you see the voting lines in the National Assembly, it was largely the same at the Senate. The Kenya Kwanza and their new partners in ODM, they voted more or less the same. And I think, for me, I was not surprised that it went the way it went yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. Keeping that in mind, should this seat go back to Mount Kenya? Is that a conversation we should be having? Because before you came in, Kathy was saying that it should go back to Mount Kenya.
I'm not sure that's the right conversation to have, whether it should be a Mount Kenya position. It's a national position because we are accusing Rigathi Gachagua of the same issues. But it should go to a competent Kenyan, whoever that is. If it's from the mountain, so be it.
They are the realities of our Kenyan politics, Paul. And we all know that there's the political reality, and then there's an attempt to try to be politically correct. Would it be suicidal for the president to pick anyone else from any other region other than the Mount Kenya region, knowing our political geography and our political dynamics?
Right now, the political arithmetics, like you said, the dynamics, more or less compel him to get a replacement from the region. Suffice to say that the position is a national position, and I think it depends on what the president wants. You see, in the Kenya Kwanza Pact, what I read was that both Moses Wetangula, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and Musalia Mudavadi's positions were negotiated for. So I think it's even the reason why you've not seen Musalia Mudavadi lobbying to be deputy president, because his position in the Kenya Kwanza arrangement is predetermined through the pact. And I think it was presumed that the deputy president's position would come from Mount Kenya. And I think to respect that, the president is going to take the position back to Mount Kenya.
Okay. Kathy? This concern about how this impacts the whole electorate system, because there are quite a number of them who say that the deputy president's position is elective, not appointive. Because at this particular point now, the president is going to appoint someone. Does that change the dynamics of it all? And how does that settle with the people politically?
I think the first thing we need to appreciate is that we are now dealing with a very divided citizenry. And people have been treated to all this. Part of it was emotional, whipping of emotions from the former deputy president. And of course, a bit of what has been happening in the trial chambers, which is the Senate yesterday. And of course, we continue to wish him a quick recovery. But then there's an outcry. You know, when you listen to people feel like he should have been allowed, maybe. But then, as we were told yesterday by the Speaker of the Senate, is that the process is time-bound. So as I had said earlier, a lot of things are going to change. There's going to be alignment and realignment. But then we shouldn't concentrate so much on the politics. We should now concentrate on service delivery to the people of Kenya. Because currently, as we speak, people are actually struggling with a lot of issues, you know, when it comes to healthcare, education, especially the funding model for our universities. It's something that, you know, the public is still looking forward to some solutions from the executive, and so many other issues. So we actually need to sort out this issue as soon as possible so that we can concentrate now on delivering services to the people of Kenya. And the other thing is, as we look at the next person who is actually going to take that position, needs to do less politics and concentrate on his work.
Okay. Joe, you had a response for Willis, who said that his party is very different from what you envisioned from your side.
You know, political parties are formed with an agenda. They have a manifesto, they have an agenda which they sell to the Kenyans, and they are given an opportunity to serve. And the moment you are given that opportunity to serve, you are supposed to deliver on what you promised Kenyans. And I know very well, Safina, they also have that manifesto, and the way my learned colleague has said that there are more of a social contract.
Consciousness, social consciousness.
Social consciousness kind of an organization. Yeah. One thing that we need to know is this, that they are in opposition. And their responsibility is to offer checks and balance. Their responsibility is to offer alternative choices for the government. As we speak now, as a government, we have the agendas that we are delivering on Kenyans.
Okay.
Despite the fact that we have challenges, there are those ones which we have managed to deliver, and there are those ones which we have not delivered. But he needs to play his role. We need to play the role of government.
Okay.
But going forward, it is high time. You know, what Kenyans need to understand, most of the people who are in these trenches, from Tanga to forming the party called UDA, going into an election, it was not easy for most of us seeing this process going on, this impeachment process. Because if it was in South Africa, the way they call themselves comrade, Rigathi Gachagua is a comrade of UDA. And how we reach those levels, it is not an easy task.
Okay.
But now, we need to move forward as a country.
Speaking of reaching those levels, let's discuss some of these issues. There are 1, 4, 5, 6, and 9. And Willis, I'll start with you. Number 1, did the Deputy President undermine national unity?
As I said, I cannot see anything tangible that the Deputy President did that undermined national unity. And I say this with tremendous respect.
You're basing this on the statements of the shareholders.
Because when he talks about shareholders, already the foundation of Kenya Kwanza itself was based on shareholding. So, I mean, if he just voices what the foundation is, how does that make it an offense? And also for me, it's more important to understand that sometimes we don't get caught up in political rhetoric. That thing of Watu wa Murima, those are idle political talk. I will be more concerned about the person who is practicing national disunity. So I don't think that ground was substantiated.
Okay.
That ground was premised on idle political talk that is meant to excite people in the rural areas. It was not tangible. I mean, did he incite, for example, the people he was addressing against other parts of the country? No. It is a question of saying that they are shareholders in the country. Their coalition agreement, the foundation of their government, is a shareholding agreement. So there's nothing wrong in my view.
Okay. Kathy, did the Deputy President undermine national unity? We're now discussing the grounds under which he was impeached, one by one.
Yes, and to a large extent, because we said as the principal assistant to the president, he's a symbol of national unity, and therefore he does not represent a region. He actually represents the entire country. But if you observed all the videos that were played, and he's actually the one who played some of them in the National Assembly, he was most of the time referring to Mulima as if Mulima is the only place he represented, yet he was the deputy president of the of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
So according to you, that is justified?
It is justified.
Joe, did he undermine national unity?
A big yes. Okay. If you look at the several incidences that amount to undermining national unity, his first incidents were about shareholding and now bringing in Mulima. You know, we need to understand our history as a country. We know what led this country to 2007, 2008 post-election violence. It was this political rhetoric that we continue repeating day by day, and they keep sinking into people's mind. By the time you realize it, people will be fighting each other in the streets in the name of Murima. So it is something that the former deputy president was supposed to realize. You know, the moment he mentioned that thing of shareholding, the first people then to tell him to tone down on that issue was the ODM brigade, Azimio brigade, which told the deputy president, hold on, you need to go slow with this shareholding idea. At that time, with the political temperatures that we have in the country, it was something very delicate, and it's something that threatened the unity of this country, and something that threatened the fabric that hold us together as a country.
Okay. Paul, did he undermine the national unity?
He did. The grounds for removal of the president or deputy president under Article 145A, one of them is 141 is gross violation of the Constitution, and the mover of the motion and the evidence adduced in the chambers of the Senate pointed to the fact that the deputy president violated Article 10 of the Constitution and values and principles of governance, Article 10(2)A, undermined the unity of the country, Article 27 of the Constitution, the freedom from discrimination, by the very fact that he's saying that some parts of the country do not deserve to get certain allocations or shares because they are not part of it. And those videos are playing at the Senate. He clearly says, nyinyi wengine hamuna shares, wengine shares yenu ni kidogo, wale wengine ni mingi. The high calling of the office of the deputy president do not allow him to make those kind of utterances. And I think the Senate was very fair. And largely, I am feeling that most of the grounds, even if they don't get quite some good support at the Senate, I had a feeling that this one was quite substantiated. And I'd also suffice to say that at the Senate, you don't expect a conviction beyond reasonable doubt, or even a balance of probability. They're supposed to show that the deputy president actually, at the face of it, committed the charges that he was accused of. And I think they managed to show that. That was not a court of law, and as it were, and I think it was enough that the people who won the motion and the people who brought evidence before the Senate showed that he violated the Constitution. Okay. And there's something you post to our sister here, which I would like to comment on. The National Assembly will act as an electoral college. It will not be an approval hearing, so to say. When a new name is taken to the National Assembly, it will be a vote taken, and that at that time, under 149, Article 149(1), the National Assembly will be acting as an electoral college. So it will take a vote. A simple majority would do.
Okay. Willis, charge 4, and you also mentioned it earlier on here, undermining independence of the judges. Did he inadvertently do that by accusing a judge outrightly of corruption and not tabling evidence against that judge?
That would be, he did that, I mean, to the extent that he actually publicly voiced himself on it. My only concern would that be an impeachable offense? Uttering, I mean, many times, and many Kenyans, even as lawyers, sometimes we disagree with a judge, and in the heat of the moment, you say this judge is useless. Is that an impeachable offense? So it's a misconduct that, in my view, a censure will have done, not impeachable offense. Because an impeachable offense should be something that is causing what we call national outrage, that the people are out there crying and baying for his blood. That is when you say that the threshold has been met. But for me, misconduct, not impeachable.
So undermining the judges for you, agree that it did, but it's not something.
I mean, he spoke,
even for a deputy.
Because look at it this way. First, he spoke about that issue in regard to proceedings that had concluded, not even actively going on in court. And he said that judge did this to my case. How many times do Kenyans, people who lose cases in court? I deal with judges every day. I see clients all of them, when they lose a case or they don't get another, they're sticking. Those judges are useless. Those, I mean,
Does it make it right?
no, what I'm saying, that's a human reaction to any loser. So what I'm saying, having been a loser in a fair process, his response was that, oh, that judge was compromised, I'm going to complain about the judge. And there are many cases, people complaining about judges for losing cases. I take it as that those are people who need psychological support, counseling, post a judicial process. No, you may lose or you may win. If you lose, you just have to live with it. It is a misconduct, but I don't think it will qualify to be gross. You know, gross misconduct. Gross misconduct is something that should raise national outrage. Something that is unexpected. For example, if you shot a judge or you assaulted a judge during judicial proceedings, that will be a gross misconduct. But just saying after losing a case, not even that the case is going on. If the case was going on and he says, you judge, I'm watching you, make sure you give me, that will be intimidating a judge. This was utterances in respect to what had transpired.
Yeah.
And the proceedings had concluded. So he's a sore loser, a sabic tongue, as I said, not impeachable.
The fact that he's a deputy president making those utterances don't matter to you.
I mean,
because it depends on where those utterances are.
Let me ask you.
Could say that.
Let me even take our constitutional bonus from the United States Constitution. The Supreme Court of the United States of America, makes a ruling overturning Roe versus Wade. Everybody, including Joe Biden, is happy now saying this Supreme Court has lost the meaning of the true values of Americans. And they criticize that court. They are scathing articles written about it. In that democracy, not even a wimp that because Joe Biden has taken a position against the Supreme Court, it should be removed. I'm saying it can be misconduct. It's not impeachable. Because disagreeing with a judgment and criticizing it post-judgment is not an offense. Even judges, I said, they don't live in heaven. They live here. Some of them make mistakes. They are judges. That's why they have a process of appeal. Okay. But because I have expressed myself, my displeasure, because of how proceedings were conducted, does not make me to be subject of impeachment. If anything, if we don't have those kind of criticisms, we'll be creating a judicial monster here. Judges thinking they are demigods because they are called lords, my lord, my lady. They'll start behaving like demigods here. They must be susceptible. They must be open to criticism when we disagree with their judgments and their rulings. That is something that should be available to us. Regarding doing it is just elevating the conversation. It may be misconduct, but not an impeachable offense. Okay. And let us not try to create an impression that judges are insular from criticisms. They are open to criticisms. Like when they called us out here, we are also allowed to respond and told them that is non-judicial language. Stop using it in a judicial process. Okay. That's democracy. Okay.
Kathy, did you undermine the judges?
I mean, clearly, yes. Clearly, yes. And, you know, when those kind of utterances came to the from a person of deputy president, then, of course, I'm sure Esther Maina must have, you know, maybe she got very worried, surprised. I don't know what crossed her mind at that particular point. And that actually makes me now wonder, would he have done the same if it was a male judge? Or did he just do this because it was what majority of male politicians perceive as the weaker sex? And I'm saying this going by some of the allegations that I listened when I was listening to the members of parliament when it was being impeached at the National Assembly. There are quite a number of you know, accusations that emanated from the women in that parliament. Yeah. And the fact that this was one of the issues that had been enlisted as part of the 11, and it was voted for, you know, and a majority of the senators thought that this was enough to impeach a deputy president, then I think I support. Okay.
Joe, did you undermine the judges?
To whom much is given, much is expected. And when you hold an office of that of a deputy president, much is expected of you. In this country, somebody was removed as a judge for merely pinching somebody. So it is that much what we expect from the person of a stature of a deputy president. that you should not utter some words more so to other institutions. You know, we are in a democracy, and a democracy is more of independent institutions. Not just the attack on judiciary, the attack also on the person who hold the office of the Director General of NIS. So some of those utterances and some of those things that the Deputy President did were not of a person of that stature.
Okay.
Yes.
Paul?
You've seen about 26 cases filed in court trying to stop the impeachment process. And the judiciary, the three-judge bench, ruled that, you know, they have a duty to exercise judicial restraint. And I think the person talking is not an ordinary Kenyan. He's part of the executive, in fact, the second in command. So I would ever that this person was supposed to exercise restraint and not criticize the judges and the judiciary in the manner that he did, because he also has other forums, by the way, available to him. The appeal is one of them. You know, writing to the Judicial Service Commission for disciplinary measures to be taken against the judge is another. He is also available to have conversations with the Chief Justice of the Republic. So this is not ordinary Kenyan ranting, you know, a sore loser, to borrow the ones used by Willis. No, is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya in the arm of the executive and trying now to have his cake and eat it.
Yeah.
And he wants to cross over to the other arm of government, which is the judiciary, and decide for them how they should handle their matters. Whereas we've seen even in his own cases, the judiciary has said, no, the parliament is independent, so those are independent institutions, we leave it. You know, the judiciary and parliament and the executive in our constitutional architecture are at par, they are the same. So you should not act as if you're a supervisor of the other. And in this case, the Deputy President was trying to act as if he was directing the judiciary on what to do, trying to supervise the judiciary. And even, if you watch the video, he was quite a bit arrogant about it. So I think that is misconduct and impeachable.
Okay.
You know, my colleagues are suffering from one thing. They think that, I think this is a Moist, Kanuist kind of mindset, that certain institutions should not be criticized, that if you're a deputy president, you should see the Chief Justice privately if you have a problem. No, who is he? When he's in court, they're litigating as a citizen. He's just a citizen like me. Let him also go through the process that, like everybody else, including the emotional turmoil that comes with losing. Not that because you're a deputy president, you stop being human, that you have problems with the judiciary, you should be called to the Chief Justice's office so that you have a private conversation. No. I'm just reading here an article on the 24th of July, 2024. Joe Biden criticizes the Supreme Court of America and proceeds to say this court suffers from a crisis of ethics and decides conflict of interest amongst the justices, and we need to change the term limits of those judges. They should not be there for life. Who are they? That's American president. No one has decided that now there's a problem with it. So also with us in Kenya, when somebody criticizes a judge, even you may not agree with, and I don't agree with criticizing judges because I practice in those courts. And I understand that a judge may err. And that is why there's a process of an appeal if I'm dissatisfied. But a citizen criticizing a judge because he has lost a case, that is normal. Even judges understand it. They know it. They actually tell you, make sure your clients are ready. It's part of our legal training, client counseling. So that's a normal thing that happens. So if he loses his cool for losing a case, how does it become an impeachable offense? Otherwise, you will be going the route that Paul is suggesting, that when it comes to deputy president, if he has a problem with the judge, let him go and see the Chief Justice. If he should see the Chief Justice, then give that right also to that poor Kibera mother, whose son is in court, has been denied bail for the last 1 year, or has not been able to pay the bail that's been imposed for the last 1 year, to have a private conversation with the Chief Justice. Justice is blind. He doesn't know your status or stature. You take it as it comes to you.
Okay. Item 5, and I know, Paul, you want the right to respond to that, so very briefly.
Yeah, just to say that I said there are other mechanisms or other opportunities available to him, including the appeal. And I insist that this is the office of the Deputy President we are talking about here. On that podium, he was not speaking as an ordinary Kenyan. He took the podium as the Deputy President of Kenya. He didn't have a private conversation with peers in court or outside the court immediately after the ruling. He took to a public event to go and criticize a judge. If that is not wrong, then something is terribly amiss.
What is wrong with criticizing a judge?
If there's nothing wrong with criticizing a judge, but there's the manner in which he did it, in my view, is extremely wrong. And if we allow that kind of conduct to go on, you have senior government officials intimidating judges, and so that they get favorable rulings from the courts. It's okay to criticize a judge. To that extent, I agree with Willis. Yeah. But it's not okay to wake up and as a senior government official and try to intimidate a judge so that you get a favorable ruling from the courts. Okay. I think that is extremely wrong.
I think, you know, looking at how this was done, you know, he did it in public. I think it was in a political rally or something like that before he did the letter. But I think over the last 10 years or something like that, even remember Uhuru Kenyatta did something similar during when and
he said he will revisit.
Yeah, he said he will revisit. And these are some of the things that we must say no to as a country, you know, moving forward. Because the same way, you know, the reason as to why Gachagua was doing that is actually to whip emotions, just like he has done over the last 1 week or so, trying to tell people, you know, I'm under attack, I'm being attacked, whipping emotions and ensuring that you have the masses, subjecting everything to the courts of public opinion, and it is wrong. We must call it out.
Joe, is this where the problem is? Because this is a rather subjective thing. Should the deputy president do this? Should he not do this? Is it wrong in law? Is it impeachable enough? Is this where the problem is, that there's no clear-cut pedestal that you can say this is how he should conduct himself?
Yeah, as a country, we gave ourselves the 2010 Constitution. And from the preamble to Article 10, to a whole chapter in the Constitution that talks about integrity and leadership, it tells you that these are the do's and these are the don'ts. So some of these things, it's not that there's no pedestal, but there's a clear way, and there's something that we expect from certain people in a society. When you are given responsibility, when you are given an opportunity to serve Kenyans, we demand that you behave in a certain way as a leader. Okay. And that's something that we Kenyans expect from our leaders, and we all hold them accountable. And the issue about criticizing the judge, yes, all public officers and state officers must accept to be criticized, either in public or in private. But the avenue in which you do it matters a lot. And the style in which it's done, it matters a lot. I can tell you there are examples. There's a time when the former president complained about the ruling of the Supreme Court then, but there was a rider. We have an issue with your judgment, but we respect the independence of judiciary. Okay. So it is something that needs to be, you know, there's one time, if Kenyans are very keen, there was one time when the president, the current president and the former deputy president were having an event in Westlands about the young MPs. And when the president stood to speak, he said that as he takes time to mentor young politicians. And when young politicians say certain words, yes, maybe the politician did not mean those words. So I normally call this young politician to correct them. That speech then was not meant for young politicians. It was meant for his deputy. He was trying to tell his deputy, there are certain utterances that when you make them in public, you need to find the most suitable language to put them. Okay. So you don't just go on and speak as if you...
Okay, Willis, item 5, that is breaching oath of office and allegiance.
I mean, it was a breach, and that was a question of subordination. I was expecting William Ruto to take the witness stand. Because if you're a deputy president, insubordination, you can only insubordinate your superior. You cannot insubordinate your juniors. So, and you need the evidence of that superior to come to court and say, I was subordinated, I gave these instructions, and they are not followed. I didn't see William Ruto on the witness stand at the National Assembly or even at the Senate, or even an affidavit sworn by William Ruto indicating that I have been insubordinated by Gachagua and give us particulars of that insubordination. That ground, in my view, failed.
Failed again. Okay. Kathy? Item 5, breaching oath of office and allegiance. Did he?
Yes.
Why?
As the deputy president, he sought to protect all of us and guard our interests. And yesterday, we were treated to a lot of, a moment where we all wondered whether he had gone there to take care of our interests as a country or the interests of his family. So he breached the oath of office.
Joe?
Yes, by basically undermining the national unity of the country, by undermining the independence of judiciary and those other allegations, it qualifies the breaching of oath of office and allegiance, because you swore to protect the Constitution. You swore to protect, to do your work as the deputy president. And when you swore to protect the Constitution, you can't go against that Constitution. Okay. So it is
that is an impeachable. Paul, what I thought?
Yes, it did. That's a qualified offense charge. Unlike the others, for me that was a qualified charge, and you have to prove the others, and then in the thick of it, this one gets approval or gets a confirmation. And I think it's insubordination, which was alluded to by Willis, is not necessarily the president who can spot it. Even today, if you find someone mistreating a child and you left it, you're not doing justice, not just to yourself, but even to that child. Actually, you can litigate in court on behalf of someone else who is being mistreated or offended, so to say. So it doesn't mean it's the president who must complain.
But you cannot insubordinate a child. I talk about in terms of superior relationship.
In terms of hierarchy.
Hierarchy.
That's hierarchy. I'm just trying to bring, to use that to say that even the Senate, even the National Assembly, because they're the ones who initiate the impeachment proceedings, live in this country. The members live in this country, and they see what happens every day. They saw the deputy president doing the press conference in Mombasa immediately after the president of the Republic had a press conference in Nairobi at State House. So you don't need the president to complain. You can see for yourself. It's there. And like I said, this is a qualified offense, and it's quite a number of these other charges that lead you to this one. If you're trying to undermine the unity of the country, yes, you're breaching your oath of office.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, in as far as some of these other charges were confirmed, this is also a confirmed charge and impeachable.
Okay. Willis, item 6, and you alluded to this yourself: inflammatory and insightful public utterances.
That's what I said. In my view, that was the most ridiculous charge. Because Rigathi has an acerbic tongue. That is who he is. And we know him with acerbic tongue.
But that does that make it right?
No. Just listen. No. Listen.
You made insight.
There's what we call, he has an acerbic tongue like Moses Kuria's tongue. Those are acerbic tongue speakers. Just like Oscar Sudi. That is the caliber. Eh? Their tongues, they make you uncomfortable when they speak. But the fact that I'm comfortable when someone is speaking, I have to live with it. I may not love your face or like your face, but it is your face. I cannot give you another face. I have to live with it. So let me say this. What is it? What is it? Because if it's a question of inflammatory, what did he say that is inflammatory? Shareholders? I mean, I explained the foundation of shareholders is Kenya Kwanza coalition agreements itself. If there's anybody, but they should have complained about this acerbic tongue of Rigathi, it should have been Raila Odinga. Because if there's anybody who has received vibes from Rigathi Gachagua, I think Raila has received the highest diatribes from Gachagua. But you must be able to understand politics, political rhetoric, and substance. So Rigathi is saying how he has put mtego for Raila everywhere. Huyu mtu lazima aende Bondo, tambeba na wheelbarrow, lazima fike huko, hakuna kuingia. I mean, it is uncomfortable words.
So your argument is that you agree that he made inflammatory and
not inflammatory. No, I'm not saying inflammatory. I am saying his tongue is acerbic. When he speaks, you can get uncomfortable. But it's just like saying I meet an ugly person. I may be uncomfortable looking at them in the face, but I can't make them change their face. That is who they are. So regarding Gachagua's tongue is toxic. But that toxic tongue, when he speaks on the political platform, some people get uncomfortable. I will feel for Raila Odinga when he starts speaking about Raila Odinga and the way he speaks.
Okay.
But does that make it something else? It's just like William Ruto, how he's dealing with this young man, Morara. William Ruto also has an acerbic tongue. No, that doesn't have it. He has it. He lies to Kenyans to their face. He lies. That man lies like Ananias.
Hey.
He lies. He misleads. He can convince you that you're not even black, that you're actually an albino, or you're a white man in a black skin. He can lie to anybody in this country and you believe him. But Morara Kebaso comes out to take away his mouth. Believe him. But Morara Kebaso comes out to take away his mouth by mimicking him in a way that exposes him, that when he speaks, even before he opens his mouth, we all know you are a liar. He's advertised him to us. Now, is that something that will make you to impeach him? In fact, for William Ruto, you can impeach him for lying. But not that because his tongue is sweet and he can convince you. You can catch him on the lie, but not on the sweetness of his tongue when he used to speak before Morara came about. But
so you agree, but
for Gachagua, what I'm... No. I need to be clear. He has an acerbic tongue, but an acerbic tongue
is not grounds for impeachment.
Is not a ground for impeachment.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Kathy.
But look, we are talking about inflammatory remarks.
Yes.
Incompatible with his office. Remember, he was not just an anybody. He was the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. So when he makes certain comments, when he makes certain remarks, and especially in public, and he used to make them while, laughing, as if it's a joke. I remember the attacks that he made on His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. I remember the attacks that he made on the late His Excellency Jomo Kenyatta, and even Raila Odinga, very, very defamatory. And even when I listened to the women, because I'm a woman who has been in the political arena, when I listened to the women in Bunge say that he actually called them Malaya, really? That coming from an assistant, a principal assistant to the head of state, it is very unfortunate.
Okay. Joe?
I was really enjoying when my learned colleague was struggling to explain his point. Up to some point, he had to bring in William Ruto and Morara. This
and say that the president should be impeached for lying.
This charge is inflammatory and insightful public utterances.
Yeah.
The moment you incite one side against the other, you have, those utterances were it's something that you cannot defend. About the former deputy president is something that you cannot defend, and I really that's why I said also I was surprised with the team or the people around him. They needed to tell him to go slow. They needed to tell him to retract some of these things, and they needed to help him to reshape and redo politics in a different way, because you cannot balkanize a region. You cannot continue doing politics of 1970 in this day of today, of pitching one community against the other, of trying to utter certain words. At one point, our deputy president was forced even to go ahead and pick his blue suitcase and go to the airport. You know, there are certain things to try and convince certain quarters that he's under attack. So these are certain things that were very glaring, and there was something that he needed to tone down, but
he did not.
He did not.
So, Paul, does this then come down to who is saying certain utterances rather than what is said?
Absolutely. It's not. It's if it was someone in the streets saying those things, I don't think it amounts to the same punishment. If you're on TV, and it's a Citizen TV, it's a national TV, viewership huge in the country, there are certain things, comments you can't make on air. And if you're in the office of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, there are certain comments you can't make in public. So you hold yourself with restraint, like I said earlier. And I would think that we should be happy that the bar was raised by the National Assembly. And if Willis and others who wish to hold the president or any other politician for that matter accountable for a sabit tongue or many other things, then so be it. But this is the new standard. This is the new norm now. Let's hold even others to account. I mean, there are many other MPs perhaps who are culpable of this, and maybe for citizens wishing to recall them, they can exercise their rights of recall by using these standards. So let's not complain. We want, on one hand, we want accountability mechanisms. On the other, we're saying, let it slip, let it pass, it's fine. Tunasonga, like we move on. I think as a country, we need to decide what do we want then. So this is the new norm. Let's hold these politicians to that high level of accountability. And the National Assembly, in my view, did its duty, constitutional duty, to hold the Deputy President to account. The Senate is a supervising chamber by way of trial. They upheld some of those, they declined some of them. It's all right. Also, we as Kenyans out here, we have our own opinions. I can say the Senate was right in this way, it was wrong in this way, but it is what it is. He's a former Deputy President.
Willis. And finally, you say a sabik tongue, you say he's a sore loser in court. Is his conduct incompatible with the status of the office of the Deputy President?
The summation of his general conduct. When I used to campaign, let's talk about our Safina party, I will stand up and ask people, between Willis Otieno and Rigathi Gachagua, who was the face of a Deputy President? And people will cheer and tell me it's me. So these are subjective tests. So I'm coming. I don't understand the background. People will cheer and say it's me. Because if you look at the face of Gachagua and myself, I mean, even the comportment and our expression, it's natural. You'll say, okay, Willis looks more presidential or deputy presidential than Gachagua. With the presidential shirt. But the presidential shirt. But to all fairness to Gachagua, even I was doing that comparison. Of course, I knew that people will choose me over Gachagua if I did that comparison. Our physical appearances, our presentation. But you don't fault someone for his comportment. You don't penalize someone having risen to that position. You don't punish him for his oversized shoes or suits. That's not a punishment. That is who he is. You take him as you found him. Kenya has made him a deputy president with his looks, with his suits, with his asabic tongue, with his very narrow mind in terms of view. That's what they made him deputy president for. It's not like Gachagua acquired these new traits as a deputy president. He was always this. This was Gachagua from the beginning. But politically, it became expedient today to get rid of him. All I'm saying, even if you want to get rid of Gachagua, please, just find something substantive, find something tangible within the law and get rid of him. Don't lower the bar. In fact, he's saying the bar has been raised. No, there's no bar. It's now the floor. Anything goes. William Ruto is the bar. And William Ruto is, all this thing about removing Gachagua, is William Ruto sending a message to everybody in his political circle. If I can get rid of Gachagua, who are you? Next time I say jump, all of you should be up telling me how high. When you're already up, I there. Not waiting for me to tell you the bar where it should be.
Now that's the flip side of what
As
Paul
the
was
president
saying. Paul was saying that
commented
then
on this.
it means that if this can be held as a threshold, anybody else can.
No, so the point is, there is no threshold, so it means he can remove you for anything. For not even liking you, he may just have dreamt last night.
But this threshold even comes to him.
No,
as well.
but he's controlling the marionettes. Parliament, those have been pitched. These are puppets. If you have faith in Parliament, it's okay. Good luck. Continue with them. In where I sit, where majority of Kenyans sit, Parliament and Kenyans, we were done on the 25th of June. Because Parliament cannot sit. Today in the morning, I assure you, Parliament will not have quorum. Even the Senate will not have quorum today in the morning if they are sitting. But when it comes to themselves or William Ruto's interests, you will have overrepresentation in that same Parliament. Parliament is wasted. That one is done. They have all been cancelled. Kenyans don't care about those institutions. But all I'm doing here today, and I'm not playing the devil's advocate, I am playing the rule of law's advocate. That if we are doing these things to better our democracy, to further the provisions of our constitution, then you must be fair to everyone, even those that you don't like. I may not like Rigathi Gachagua and his politics, but is also a beneficiary of the provisions of our constitution, and you must give it to him. So that when you say that is general conduct, what has Gachagua done since he became deputy president that is different from what Gachagua was doing before he became deputy president in terms of conduct? If anything, the oversized suits, at least the tailor tried to reduce them to fit. If it's a question of what is allegedly told Betty Maina, I don't know the details of it. That was not a ground for removal.
Okay.
Gachagua was never given an opportunity to respond to that particular ground for what allegedly called Betty Maina. So how do you proceed to condemn him based on that ground? When this other lady, this deputy speaker, Sholei, says that Gachagua attended a meeting where some people were saying Ruto must go. I mean, when did it become an offense to say Ruto must go? I'm saying it on TV, Ruto must go. It is not an offense. That is an expression of my political belief and my right to express myself. He may not like it. Just like if I said, I love you, William Ruto, today, William Ruto will send me flowers. He must also receive my flowers when I say Ruto must go. That cannot be a ground for impeachment.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I am more concerned about that it seems we don't have any standards when it comes to interrogating. This is a perfect opportunity because I believe within the system, like if they went strictly on the issue of Gachagua's handling of the family, that issue of the will of his brother and how the state has been managed, if they delved deeper into it, we could have found tangible evidence.
Came later.
If we went deep onto the companies, the contracting, the procurement, I would be more interested, for example, in the former KEMSA CEO's testimony. If we delved deeper into it, we find criminality. I will be the number one saying, hang that man today. But they were very superficial, and that is my problem.
Okay.
If they are not going deep, they are just being touch and go. You are undermining the impeachment process in our constitution. That is my problem.
Okay.
I think as I listen to Mheshimiwa here, I keep wondering, how did the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, expect to work with the head of state under the prevailing circumstances? You know, these are people who are seeing things from different lenses. These are people who are clearly not talking to each other. And because if they were really speaking to each other and consulting, then Rigathi Gachagua was not going to address the president through the press. So how did he expect to continue working with the head of state or even parliament, and even those members of parliament from Mulima, yet the relationship, the working relationship between them was long gone? Why would he insist, or why was he insisting to be in that office, yet the relationship was actually irreparable? Yeah.
So you think this was done?
It was done. Okay. It was done.
But the question is why?
I mean, it's because of all those things that we have said or we have put across here. For example, most of the roadside declarations that he has been making, and even the presser that he did immediately after the president had spoken, which actually broke protocol, there were ways and means of undermining his boss, you know. And to me, that is a gross misconduct.
Okay. Joe.
Yes.
Is his conduct unbecoming of the office of a deputy president? And also you can react to what Willis is saying, that yes, somebody might be questionable in terms of character, but when he was coming in there, it was already like that. It's not ground enough to hound him out of office. Because in the last 2 years when he was in office, it's not that you didn't know that's who he was. Is there something in what Willis is saying?
Yes, there are things as politicians we do during the campaigns. When you are out there during the campaigns, there are some of this rhetoric that we keep on using to get the votes. But the moment you assume that public office, the office of the deputy president, everything changes. You are no longer the villager Rigathi Gachagua. You are the president, deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, Geoffrey. So you need to behave, you need to utter words in public or in private, or the way you are supposed to conduct yourself must be of that stature of a deputy president, not the villager Rigathi Gachagua. So it is something that you need to draw the line and realize that now I've changed. And it's something that, you know, he kept on confusing himself. At one moment, he said they were telling me that I'm not capable to be the deputy president. Muliona ile Kiingereza niliongea ile siku we went for a debate with the Martha Karua. On one side, he says that they called me a villager. Mimi kila mtu akaona kwao. But I've now qualified. They said that even I don't know how to dress. Mimi vile navaa saa hii, mimi ni deputy president. So he was supposed to change completely and become the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, not to continue doing the things that, you know, there are certain responsibility that you assume in a society. Those responsibility require you to behave in a certain level. And there is a level in which we hold you when you hold public office. We cannot find you engaging in certain things. So these are things that he needed to realize, and he did not. And actually, it is something that is very sad. For some of us who campaigned for this and were in trenches with the likes of Rigathi Gachagua, it is not easy to discuss an impeachment of a fellow comrade. But now, we are there. And we have to deal with it. And at one moment I saw the leader of majority in Senate, Aaron Cheriot, saying that when duty calls, you have to be there. And that was yeah.
Yeah,
I think
you want to jump in
Trevor,
before I bring in Paul. Yeah.
Okay, I think, Trevor,
Yeah.
it's time we revisited how we do and approach our politics. There's something that my dear brother here has said, and it has just reminded me how the Kenya Kwanza government got into power, and the campaigns that preceded that, which were actually there was too much acrimony, you know, and a lot of chest thumping, and some blame games that actually tore the fabric of the nation, so to speak. And I think that is not okay. And it is time we revisited how we do politics and how we, you know, crucify each other during those moments. Because for some people, like the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, they might not know when to stop. You know, when I look at him, the way he went out for Uhuru Kenyatta, attacked him throughout. In fact, it's just the other day when he stopped attacking him, he didn't know when to stop attacking people. He attacked Raila Odinga until he didn't know when to stop attacking Raila Odinga. He attacked those two until they were really, you know, at their lowest moment. And I think we really need to introduce some political hygiene into our conversations.
Hygiene, okay. Yes, Paul.
I think if you make your bed, you must lie on it. And I think the deputy president, the former deputy president, made his bed, and
You must now lie on it.
I think he's already lying on it. The general conduct of a state officer at the level of a deputy president will not be comparable to a mere politician politicking in Harare. like Willis would do when he's doing his Safina shenanigans and those kind of things. You can say anything. You are not a state officer, and we might not even hold you to. Only your members of your political party, like Safina members, can hold Willis to account. They can actually decide to remove him, and that's up to them. And I hope that in their party constitution there are mechanisms available to do that. The same way we're saying parliaments all over the world are not liked by nobody. So it's not like we like our parliament, but, and those are statistics, like even in other jurisdictions, parliaments all over the world are not the most interesting ones. And it's not like even in other jurisdictions, MPs turn up every day for business. Just watch C-SPAN in the US. The Congress, sometimes you're seeing only one lone member addressing the Speaker of the Congress, of the House of Representatives. And it's upon us, it's our duty. And I'm saying these are new standards, and they're not low standards in the eyes of Safina Party Vice Chairperson. These are the new standards that if we find, I'm a member of Safina, I'm a member of Jubilee, and I want to remove my party leader or deputy party leader or chairman, I need to look at what has been done. It's like the courts, when they make rulings, we try to use that precedent and jurisprudence as new standards, new bars for doing litigations. I think this is what we need also to learn and use. And I can say, if we are unhappy with our MPs, the recall clauses are available to us. I can't, even if I criticize Parliament the whole time for doing what they are allowed by Article 95 and 96 of the Constitution to do, it doesn't make any change. It won't, even if I shout from the rooftop, it won't change. There are recall clauses available to us. How many of us really, Trevor, are willing to test the Constitution by using these recall clauses to recall our MPs? I would wish to live in that time, in this term of Parliament, to get one or two of those MPs recalled by citizens. I'll be happy, Kenyan, because it pushes our accountability mechanisms even further, so that our MPs know, if you do what we don't want, we're going to remove you from office. We're going to recall you.
Okay.
So let me just say this.
And I need to cross over to Nyeri to hear what the people think before I come back.
I just want to say one thing. You know, my colleagues here, they are trying to claim a moral high ground, that now we are moralists, that this thing that Gachagua said. I wish I had the similar outrage when Rex was being killed, when Denzel was being killed. People have died here, 60 Kenyans, just for expressing their right to demonstrate, armed with an umbrella, with a bottle, with a flag. And we are acting as if those deaths were nothing.
No.
That now we are now moral. We are now mixing issues.
We are not happy about that.
Finish.
Yeah,
all of us are not happy. But you're condemning us.
Let me finish.
Willis, you're condemning us.
You are claiming to be moralist.
No.
You are claiming to be moralist.
No way.
That you care about morals so much. I want to see the similar outrage that before we talk about somebody's acidic tongue, we should be calling for accountability in regard to the deaths.
We did.
So that what I'm saying, in terms of national priority, the National Assembly should not be sitting, the Senate should not be sitting at discussing someone's Arabic tongue when Rex is lying 6 feet under, when Denzel is dead in Kanyadiang, when Bob is still traumatized from his abduction and in communicado detention for 32 days, blindfolded and handcuffed. And more other Kenyans, young people, are out there. So what I'm saying is, this moral high ground that you're having here on Gachagua today, let's take it to the people who deserve it more. So that by the time we come to Gachagua, so that when you say that we've now raised the bar, what bar are you raising and people are being killed here and abducted? Okay. The bar should be on those who are being killed, should be able to get justice as a priority. Those who are abducted, those who are disappeared, should be released immediately. Before we start talking about a bar has been raised, no bar has been raised. These are politicians organizing themselves for their seats.
Okay.
Trevor, we cannot
go to Nyeri, then I come back. I'll give you a chance to respond to this. Don't worry, we'll give you a chance to respond because he's accused all of you here for not having the same outcome. So you'll get a chance, all of you. Let's cross over to Nyeri, where Kamau Mwangi is standing by. Kamau, good morning. What is the mood there and what are the people's reaction? All right. We will get Kamau Mwangi in just a bit. We're heading to Nyeri to find out what the people's reactions are after this. But let me hear your views really quick. Or should we take that break and then come back and continue with this conversation in just a short while? We're taking a short break.
In between?
No, you will not. We'll just write it down. We'll come back in just a short while. I'll give you a chance to respond and also see what the people are saying in just a bit. All right? See you shortly.